Let's just be honest here. Omar Khan didn't just build a roster. He went out and collected names. Not just ordinary names, but names that make headlines, names that stir hype, names that sound like pro bowlers even before they step onto the field. That's what Pittsburgh is now, right? We chase the splash, stack the talent, and pray the glue holds everything together. But while everybody's eyes are locked on the flashy acquisitions, the big receivers, the headline-grabbing quarterback, the veteran tight end who is supposed to be the missing piece, we're missing something, maybe someone who's been right there in plain sight. And it's driving me crazy. Because here's the thing, Darnell Washington could absolutely be a star. Not in the way we usually define stars with gaudy stat lines or viral plays, but in the trenches where this team is getting absolutely dominated. He could be the difference maker in solving the most obvious problem this offense has, blocking. And not just a little help here and there, but a real solution. An anchor, a body that buys time. But they won't use him, or at least not how they should. That's the part that makes no sense. Now I get it. He's a tight end. He's got size, length, athleticism. You drafted him for his upside, for his potential to be a pass-catching threat, a mismatch nightmare. But let's be real. That's not happening right now. He's not getting those targets. He's not being schemed open. So why not lean into what he can do? Use that frame like an extra offensive tackle. Let him live in the trenches. Let him hit people. Let him protect your precious quarterback. Because right now, whether it's Rodgers or anyone else taking snaps, the pocket collapses faster than we can run a play-action fake. The Steelers are practicing this week, gearing up for the matchup with the Vikings, and not in Pittsburgh, but all the way in Dublin. It's one of those weird, travel-heavy weeks that don't give you a lot of room to adjust. You're not going to overhaul the offense on a plane ride. Maybe after the bye week. Maybe that's when they finally sit down and ask themselves the hard questions. What's working? What's broken? Who's being underused? And most importantly, why are we still pretending this offensive line can function without help? Because let's stop sugarcoating it. The line is a mess. There's no consistency. There's no push. There's no identity. And there's no excuse left. You've got a guy like Darnell Washington just standing there, almost begging to be thrown into the fire, and you're keeping him on the sidelines like a luxury item you don't know how to unwrap. Now, speaking of guys getting wasted behind this O-line, there's one name that deserves a whole segment of his own, Jaylen Warren. This dude, man, he's getting robbed. Not just of stats, not just of yards, but of recognition. He's doing everything you'd want from a running back and more. And still, it's like no one's noticing because the line isn't giving him even half a chance to shine. Let me throw some numbers at you. And brace yourself because they're wild. In a win over the Patriots, Warren had 18 carries. You know how many yards he got out of those? 47. Yeah, 47. That's a brutal number. That's the kind of stat line that makes people think you had a bad game, that you didn't show up. But here's the kicker. He had 56 yards after contact. Let that sink in. He got hit in the backfield so often that he somehow gained more yards after being touched than his total output. Let me say it again for the people in the back. 56 yards after contact, but only 47 yards total. That's not just a stat. That's a cry for help. That's a running back doing everything humanly possible to drag this offense forward while getting blown up 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Oh, and he forced 9 missed tackles. 9. That's the most of any running back in the NFL in Week 3. Not just that game. Not just that day. That entire week. And if we zoom out even more, that's the most by any back in any game so far this season. You know what that is? That's impact. That's difference-maker status. That's the kind of player teams build around. But what are the Steelers doing? Leaving him stranded, asking him to make miracles out of busted plays. So here's the question that keeps me up at night. What would Jaylen Warren look like behind a functioning offensive line? I'm not even talking about an elite line. Just give him average blocking. Just give him a crease, a crack, a little daylight. He doesn't need a convoy. He just needs something. Because right now, it's like asking a Formula One car to drive through mud and wondering why it's not hitting top speed. And this isn't just about one game, one opponent, or one performance. It's a pattern. It's a failure of scheme, of personnel decisions, of coaching. And at the heart of all of it is this stubborn refusal to fix what's clearly broken. They keep treating the offensive line like it'll magically improve if we just believe hard enough. That somehow, with enough reps and faith, the same guys who can't hold a block now will suddenly start dominating by midseason. But football doesn't work like that. Development takes time, sure, but Sundays don't wait for you to figure it out. Every snap matters. Every hole that doesn't open, every second the quarterback doesn't get, every lane that never appears, they all add up. They kill drives. They waste talent. And they leave fans scratching their heads, wondering how a team with this many weapons can still look this broken. Remember Najee Harris? He was supposed to be the guy, right? First-round pick. Face of the future. But he ended up averaging lines like 18 carries for 47 yards. Sound familiar? That was his norm, and he somehow made it to 1,000 yards doing that over and over again. But it never felt like impact. It felt like volume, like empty calories. Warren, on the other hand, is doing more with less, and it shows. You can feel it when he runs. There's electricity. There's urgency. There's purpose. It's not just another handoff. It's a battle. And still, he's stuck. Stuck behind an offensive line that can't open anything up. Stuck in a system that hasn't adapted to what he brings. Stuck waiting for someone, anyone, to realize that this is the guy. That this is the back they've been waiting for since Le'Veon Bell packed up and left town. He's right there. But until the line gets fixed, really fixed, it's like putting a diamond in the middle of a junkyard and expecting it to shine. And that brings us full circle right back to the Darnell Washington conversation. Because if you're not going to throw to him, if you're not going to scheme him open, then for the love of all things football, block with him. Make him a permanent fixture next to your tackles. Let him be the sixth man on the line every single down. He's not a gimmick. He's not a decoy. He's a physical freak who can erase edge rushers and carve out running lanes. Use him. Stop worrying about what it looks like. Stop caring about the optics. If it means wasting a tight end on blocking duty, so be it. If it means bruising someone's ego on the O-line by admitting they need help, do it anyway. Because what matters most isn't pride, it's production. And right now, this offense isn't producing. Not the way it should, not with the talent it has. So fix it. Do whatever it takes. Adapt or sink. That's where we are. And if you're sitting there thinking, well, isn't that a little extreme? Isn't that kind of reactionary to ask for a tight and to become a de facto lineman every single play? No, not when the tape looks the way it does. Not when your running back is making defenders miss left and right just to avoid losing 5 yards. Not when the biggest problem holding this team back is this obvious and this fixable. Because let's be real, we've all seen enough of the same story already. The Steelers line up, they run the ball into a wall, they take a sack on third down and punt. Again and again and again. That's the script, and it's getting stale. This is not about reinventing the offense. It's about survival. It's about giving your quarterback an extra half second to breathe. It's about letting Jaylen Warren actually hit the second level without having to break 2 tackles first. It's about shifting from being reactive to being intentional. You know what kind of message that sends to a team? When you make a change like that, it says, we are not going to wait for things to fix themselves. We're taking control. We're playing our game on our terms. Now let's zoom out a little, because this issue isn't isolated. It's part of a broader, systemic approach that's been dragging this team into the mud for years now. The obsession with draft investment, the unwillingness to pivot, the fear of admitting something didn't work. Case in point, Broderick Jones. The Steelers traded up in the first round to go get him. They believed in him, no doubt. They scouted him, interviewed him, got to know his family, poured hours and hours into the process. And now they're locked in. Not because of his performance, which, let's be honest, has been spotty at best, but because of the pick itself. Because the draft capital, the scouting effort, the pride, all of that is now a sunk cost they refuse to let go. And that's dangerous. That's how you end up with underperforming linemen continuing to get reps they haven't earned. That's how you block real competition from ever pushing them. That's how you turn the phrase, "we need him to develop," into a long-term excuse for mediocrity. And again, this isn't about one player. This is about a mindset that seems to run through the front office. A mentality that says, if we drafted him high, we have to make it work no matter what. But guess what? The NFL doesn't care where you were picked. Opposing defensive lines aren't slowing down just because you were a first-rounder. They're not giving you time to figure out. So why are the Steelers acting like they can afford to wait? Why does it feel like everyone else is being asked to sacrifice for the sake of propping up a handful of draft picks? And it's not just Broderick Jones. You could go down the line, literally. Troy Fautanu, second-rounder Zach Frazier, even Mason McCormick, a fourth-rounder, is part of this bigger investment. These guys are being protected, insulated, handed opportunity after opportunity, while veterans who could stabilize the group are left on the outside. And that's the problem. That's what's hurting this team right now more than anything else. Because instead of fixing the blocking issues by any means necessary, they're playing politics with the depth chart. You want to see urgency? You want to see a team willing to fight for wins? Then you have to make tough calls. You have to be willing to say, yeah, we drafted this guy in the first, but he's not playing like a starter right now. You have to be willing to sit someone down, even if it bruises egos, even if it looks bad in the short term. Because the only thing that matters is what happens on the field. There's a saying in football, the film doesn't lie. And the film is screaming at this team to change something. Whether that means more help in protection, whether that means simplifying the scheme, whether that means giving more touches to your most explosive back. Something has to give. This offense is not going to survive on talent alone. It needs structure. It needs adjustments. It needs answers. And right now, the answers aren't coming from Arthur Smith's scheme. This wide zone obsession, it's not working. It's not fooling anyone. Defenses are crashing down hard, and the line isn't athletic enough to seal off lanes the way this scheme demands. You've got guards getting turned sideways, tackles missing their reach blocks, and everything collapses before it even starts. But instead of adapting, instead of pulling back and saying, all right, maybe this isn't the right fit for our personnel, they're doubling down. That's coaching malpractice, and it's costing them wins. You can't run the wide zone if your line doesn't have the chemistry or technique to execute it. You just can't. And the craziest part is they have the personnel to run power concepts. You want to smash it up the middle? You've got backs who can do that. You've got tight ends who can block. You got pieces. What you don't have is a commitment to making it work for the guys you've got. And when that disconnect lingers, when your scheme doesn't match your strengths, everything looks worse. Players start second-guessing. Mistakes compound. And the fans? They see it. They feel it. You can't hide that kind of dysfunction, not in Pittsburgh. People around here know what real offensive football looks like. They've seen it. They remember what it meant when a guy like Le'Veon Bell had room to operate, when Big Ben had time in the pocket, when drives had rhythm, not just desperation. This isn't that. This is broken. And here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. It's not going to fix itself. Not without hard decisions. Not without changing the way this staff views its personnel. Not without putting ego aside and doing what's best for the team, not the draft board, not the front office narrative, not the media storyline. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The usually disciplined atmosphere of the team's training facility was reportedly thrown into chaos this week, as sources claim a heated confrontation erupted between star wide receiver George Pickens and defensive powerhouse T.J. Watt. According to insiders, what began as a standard practice session quickly escalated into a tense standoff, leaving teammates and coaches scrambling to contain the situation. Eyewitnesses say Pickens, known for his competitive edge and fiery temperament on the field, allegedly confronted Watt during a drill that pitted offense against defense. The details remain sketchy, but multiple accounts suggest words were exchanged that quickly turned into a physical altercation. Staff members reportedly intervened just as the intensity peaked, separating the two before any real harm could occur. One source hinted that Pickens, frustrated over a missed route or perceived rough play by Watt, snapped in the moment, while Watt, typically calm but equally passionate, responded in kind. The incident has sparked a flurry of speculation among fans and analysts alike. Social media has been ablaze with rumors, video snippets, and heated debates over what this clash might mean for team chemistry moving forward. Some insiders suggest this could be a turning point, either igniting a newfound intensity and competitiveness within the squad or signaling potential locker room tension that could linger if not addressed. Coaches are reportedly planning to mediate the situation, emphasizing the importance of channeling aggression into game performance rather than personal conflict. While no official statements have been released, the buzz around the facility indicates that teammates are both shocked and intrigued by the clash. Veteran players are reportedly taking a wait-and-see approach, hoping that the incident serves as a spark for growth rather than a wedge between key contributors. Analysts speculate that if handled correctly, this fiery exchange could strengthen Pickens and Watt's drive on the field, but if ignored, it might turn into a distraction during a crucial part of the season. For now, fans are left on edge, eagerly waiting for confirmation or clarification. Will this be remembered as a legendary burst of competitive spirit, or a cautionary tale of tempers flaring in high-stakes football? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. The training facility will never be quite the same in the aftermath of what insiders are already calling the Clash of Titans. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.